said the contract was the last thing you're worried about. Why?
That's going to come. I'm going to keep playing well. I feel great about the organization and everybody in the locker room and the coaching staff. And so, that's icing on the cake to me. I'm just excited to be out here.
He's even more excited now. Joe Burrow got paid yesterday. 5-year, $275 million contract extension. By way of new money, the Fugazi metric used by agents to value contracts, it's worth $55 million per year. He becomes the highest paid player in NFL history by $2.5 million over Justin Herbert. He is $10 million per year ahead of Patrick Mahomes. And I can't help but wonder how much longer that's going to be okay with Patrick Mahomes, to be that far behind when that many other teams can pay that many other quarterbacks more than Mahomes. At some point, it becomes glaring for Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see if and when the Chiefs fix that. But, Peter, look, we knew it was going to happen. We knew. The Bengals have been planning for it. They sold the naming rights to the stadium, for crying out loud. They knew it was time to find every couch cushion in the house for every last quarter that they could pile together, because this is the price that comes due if you're going to have a great team. You win the lottery in the draft. And as I was saying yesterday, the problem with winning the lottery if you're an NFL team is you're the one that's eventually got to pay out the jackpot to keep that great player. And between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they're going to have to pay a lot of money. And now they did it. And I think they probably, when I look at the deal, I haven't seen the structure yet. We'll have all the details at PFT. But I would say the Bengals are happy. I'd say it was a fair compromise. I thought it might be worse. And I thought there might be some device in there to protect Joe Burrow against the market continuing to pass him by, as we will see it do with any quarterback that gets a long-term contract. Over the course of that deal, the market is going to pass him by, and at some point it's going to need to be adjusted.
Mike, you asked the question, how much longer will it be before Patrick Mahomes goes to Brett Veach and Clark Hunt and Andy Reid and says, well, we got to do something about this? You know what I say to that? Might be a long time. Because who is the quarterback who Patrick Mahomes, I'm not going to say idolizes, but sort of looks at as a model? Tom Brady. What did Tom Brady do? There was one year after one of the Super Bowls where in average salary the next year, he was the 18th highest paid quarterback. And he never made a big deal of it because he always told Scott Pioli at the time, Bill Belichick, hey, listen, if you just spend the cap, don't worry about me and all that. And so I'm not saying that Mahomes is going to do that. I don't assume that he will. That's my only point about this. Now, the other thing I thought that was really interesting, when you look at it now and you see that, remember when we were all up in arms and outraged about Deshaun Watson? And look, that contract is going to look idiotic if Deshaun Watson is a C-plus quarterback, obviously. But now Deshaun Watson, I think, is 7th in the quarterback pay standings. And that's what happens. Every quarterback contract is used as a pogo stick. The next guy is going to hopscotch over your guy. Sorry about mixing my metaphors there. But the next guy is going to get paid more. And look, whoever is going to get the next contract among quarterbacks, it'll be a couple million more than Joe Burrow. That's just the way the contract game works. And look, I know you talked about it. I'm sure you talked about it at great length in the last day or so. But, to me, what really surprised me, nothing surprised me about Joe Burrow's contract. It did surprise me that Nick Bosa's contract blew Aaron Donald's out of the water. And Mike, I kept watching last night, and I kept thinking that if you're Chris Jones and you see that contract from Nick Bosa, that can't help the Kansas City Chiefs in whatever they're going to try to do with Chris Jones.
My first impression after the Bosa deal was that this doesn't really change things for Chris Jones because he wants what he wants and he understands Bosa was going to get a massive deal, and that's just the way it is. But as I said last night, that Bosa at $34 million, when Chris Jones has just been, hey, 28. Aaron Donald's at 31.67. I just want 28. And now Bosa's at 34. It could be a factor. We don't know because the Chiefs won't engage him in conversation. And it may be he's out until Week 8. And Week 8 is important because that's the deadline for showing up, getting credit for this year, and then kicking it to the franchise tag next year. And the franchise tag, and I need to write something about this. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but they may not be able to franchise tag him next year because even if he misses half the season, his original cap number is what counts for next year, and he gets a 20% raise over that cap number. So it's going to be like $32 million to tag him next year, and they quite possibly won't tag him next year, and he becomes a free agent once he gets credit for this year under his contract if they don't sign him to a long-term deal. All right, back to the Bengals. Burrow's happy. Burrow's healthy by all appearances. But he struggles against the Cleveland Browns, 1-5. The guy who is Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite has his own kryptonite in the form of the Cleveland Browns. It makes no sense. Does he finally break that hold that the Browns have over him?
Look, a couple of those games Burrow scored in the 30s, so I'm not gonna say he can't beat Cleveland. It is weird. It's an odd story. Mike, of all the games on the first weekend of the season, this is the game that I look at and circle as the biggest game of the week for two reasons. Number one, we're going to see what happens when Myles Garrett chases Joe Burrow out of the pocket. Does he have a coach right now or an offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan or Zach Taylor, who say, listen, no sprinting. Can't sprint. You're not ready to do that yet. Do they do that, or does he just play absolutely as normal and the Bengals hope for the best?
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.